Thanks, Monica and Danielle. Although we've covered the musical side of Lemonade already, we can't forget about the visual album released alongside it. We couldn't possibly give enough coverage to Beyoncé, so let's dive right in. Just kidding. I think our show is a bit too tart this week with all the talk about Lemonade. You know what could break it up? A little hardcore violence and medieval intrigue via Game of Thrones, of course. On this week's Everyone's a Critic, we'll actually be breaking down the first episode of Season 6. Be warned that this segment will feature some heavy spoilers for the entire show. Now, the finale of Season 5 opened up a bunch of loose ends that fans were eager to see be tied up in Season 6. We had the death of Myrcella Lannister and Dorne, Arya going blind after a super messed up revenge killing, Sansa escaping Winterfell with Theon, and of course, the most shocking of them all, Jon Snow being murdered. Spoilers. Naturally, you would think that this first episode of the new season would try to show the consequences of those events and lead us forward, right? Unfortunately, you'd be wrong. The first episode of the new season fails to do anything more than be an hour-long recap of what happened at the tail end of Season 5. I don't even remember if the previously on Game of Thrones intro ended, or if it just carried on throughout the entire show. The only progress to be found is when Sansa reunites with Brienne, and when Davos spearheads a group of Night's Watchmen loyal to Jon. But even these scenes feel like ground we've tread before. It feels like every season we say, maybe this will be Sansa's time to shine, but every season they just repeat the same notes in her story. At the Wall, we've already seen the Night's Watch members be loyal to Jon even before his murder, so despite this being an admittedly necessary scene, it just feels like slow, plodding nothingness. Now, the Dorne plotline, easily the worst of Season 5, featuring the baffling Sand Snakes and Ilaria Martell, who continuously disgrace the memory of Oberyn, the one character they've sworn themselves to avenge, unfortunately returns this season. Now, the story in Dorne reaches an even higher level of implausibility when Ilaria kills Prince Doran in an underwhelming, rushed coup d'etat that only makes you want to roll your eyes. Personally, I can't wait for Daenerys to just fly over them and lay waste to their kingdom and their horribly stupid plotline. Now, speaking of Daenerys and repeating storylines, she had her entire fleet of ships burned at the beginning of this season, again. Tyrion even delivers the smug line, "Looks like we won't be sailing to Westeros anytime soon," which feels like a slap in the face from the writers. I can't wait for another riveting season of Daenerys building a fleet to cross the narrow sea. In one word, this episode left me concerned. This is the first time I felt like the multiple storylines that the show attempts to juggle are starting to weigh it down. With only 10 episodes in a season, the show really needs to tie up those loose ends and prioritize what it has to cover before it becomes a large, unorganized mess. Even the twist at the end fails to push the story forward in any meaningful way and only serves as a brief shock. Well, that's all for this season, or for this first episode of the season of Game of Thrones. Back to you, Danielle and Monica.